Rich boy forces black maid to crawl like a dog. Next day, she destroys their $330 million empire. Where are you watching from? Type your city in the comments. You might just get a shout out in the next video. Hit like and subscribe for some good luck today. The mansion stood on the edge of the hill, its towering windows glaring down on the city below. Inside, marble floors stretched like cold rivers, portraits of old money smirked from the walls, and a fire crackled lazily in the giant hearth. The Lancaster family didn't just own wealth, they owned power. Generational power. On that afternoon, the grand living room carried echoes of cruel laughter. Jonathan Lancaster, barely 17, leaned forward on the rug, clutching his stomach as he howled with delight. His grandparents sat proudly behind him on the couch, encouraging the mockery with their own laughter. And at the center of their twisted entertainment was her, Naomi. She wore the black and white uniform of a maid, her hands pressed against the expensive carpet, her knees digging into the fibers. The family had ordered her to clean the rug, but Jonathan turned it into something darker. "Crawl," he commanded, his smirk curling with arrogance. "Crawl like a dog. You work here, you do what I say." The boy snapped his fingers, and Naomi's body froze. Her jaw tightened, her eyes filled with a storm of humiliation and rage, but she lowered herself, crawling forward on all fours. Jonathan barked like a dog, clapping and laughing as if this humiliation were the funniest thing he had ever seen. Behind him, his grandmother clapped like it was a stage play. "Oh, Jonathan, you're just like your grandfather when he was your age. The help needs to know their place." Naomi's throat burned. She wanted to scream, to strike back, to wipe the smugness off every face in that room. But she held it in. Because she knew something they didn't. And tomorrow, they would learn. That night, Naomi didn't sleep. She sat by her small desk in the servants' quarters, the glow of her laptop illuminating her sharp eyes. She wasn't just a maid. That was the mask she wore. Behind it was a mind sharper than any banker, any lawyer, and certainly sharper than the spoiled boy who had mocked her. Naomi had once been at the top of her field, a financial analyst with a reputation for exposing corruption. But when she uncovered the wrong man, a billionaire who was a silent partner in Lancaster Holdings, her career had been sabotaged. Every door closed. Every opportunity vanished. The only job she could get was here. And for months, she worked quietly, studying, watching, listening. Every careless word. Every document left open on the office desk. Every whispered argument between the grandparents about offshore accounts and shell companies. They thought she was invisible. But Naomi was building a map. A map of their entire empire. The morning came like any other. Jonathan strutted through the halls, smirking at Naomi as if yesterday's cruelty was a joke they both shared. "Don't forget to polish the silverware," he sneered. "On your knees. You're good at that." Naomi gave no reply. She simply bowed her head. And when he walked away, her lips curved into the faintest smile. By noon, the first blow landed. News anchors across the country interrupted programming with urgent updates. Lancaster Holdings, once valued at $330 million, was under investigation. Anonymous files had been leaked to the SEC, detailing years of tax fraud, bribery, and embezzlement. Hidden offshore accounts. Shell corporations used to launder money. And most damning, evidence linking the family patriarch to illegal contracts with politicians. The empire crumbled in real time. Phones rang off the hook inside the mansion. Jonathan's grandmother clutched her pearls, gasping at the television. His grandfather cursed, pacing like a trapped wolf. Jonathan himself was pale, confused, still trying to understand how everything could collapse so fast. But Naomi understood. Because she had planned it. Every document, every spreadsheet, every recording, she had gathered them all. And at precisely 9 a.m., she sent them to every regulatory agency, every journalist, and every whistleblower platform in existence. The Lancaster name, once untouchable, was now poison. That evening, as chaos consumed the house, Naomi moved silently. Jonathan finally noticed her calmness. "You," he hissed, grabbing her arm. "You did this, didn't you?" Naomi turned slowly, her eyes steady, her voice like steel. "You forced me to crawl yesterday," she said softly. But today, Jonathan, it's your entire family crawling. Not in private, before the whole world. His grip loosened. His face reddened with a mix of fury and fear. You'll regret this. Do you know who we are? Naomi stepped closer, whispering so only he could hear. I know exactly who you are. And I know exactly what you've done. Jonathan stumbled back, his confidence shattered. The following weeks were a storm. Investigators swarmed the estate. The patriarch was dragged into court hearings. Accounts were frozen. Business partners fled. Friends turned their backs. The Lancaster name that once commanded respect was now synonymous with corruption. Naomi walked away from the mansion for the last time, not as a maid, but as a victor. She didn't take their money. She didn't need to. What she took was their power, the illusion of untouchability. But the story didn't end there. Months later, Naomi stood on a stage, addressing a packed hall. She had been invited to speak about corruption, resilience, and justice. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. Her words carried weight, not because she destroyed the Lancasters, but because she refused to let their cruelty define her. Injustice, she said firmly, thrives when we stay silent. They mocked me. They humiliated me. They thought I was powerless. But knowledge is power. Integrity is power. And no empire, no matter how vast, can survive when built on cruelty and corruption. The crowd erupted in applause. As for the Lancasters, their $330 million empire was gone. Jonathan disappeared from the public eye, living in the shadow of disgrace. The grandparents sold off properties to pay legal fees. The once mighty name was reduced to whispers of scandal. And Naomi? She rebuilt her life, not as a servant, but as a leader. She launched a foundation to help whistleblowers and workers trapped in abusive conditions. For every person forced to kneel, crawl, or suffer in silence, she became their voice. In the end, the story wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. Because sometimes, the cruelest thing you can do to the powerful isn't to fight them in their arena. It's to pull back the curtain, expose the rot, and let their own empire bury them. And Naomi had done exactly that. Moral of the story: never underestimate the quiet ones. Power built on cruelty always falls, and dignity, no matter how suppressed, will always rise again.